Today we're going to bring some original trilogy concept art to life in an all-new Star Wars What If. So way back when Ralph McQuarrie was designing the art for the original Star Wars films, he drew this image, and that is why we will now ask, what if the Stormtroopers had lightsabers? It has now been over 10 years since the clone troopers were phased out of service. The new TK troopers or Stormtroopers now reign as the powerful soldiers of the Galactic Empire. And one of the largest and strangest commands from Emperor Palpatine is that these new troops would be equipped with not only blasters, but lightsabers. These lightsabers are made out of standardized Imperial parts and designed to match the armor of the trooper, and the crystal within each would be synthetic, so much so that it put out a pale beam of light compared to the kyber crystal lightsabers that the galaxy once saw in the now criminalized Jedi Knights. But they were a lightsaber nonetheless, and at the Imperial Academy, each soldier in training was pushed to become adept in using them. With this in place, we'll now proceed with how this could have changed things. And the truth is, while having the Force and the reflexes it offers does aid one in the ability to use a lightsaber, a person doesn't necessarily need the Force to actually make use of one, and this would hold true very much so for the Stormtroopers. Lord Vader would oversee their training regiment and eventually find instructors, but their skill, of course, never matched a true Jedi or Sith. But still their abilities became unsettling to most and unrivaled. This would end up making them a dangerous and prominent force in the galaxy. They would be quick and agile with their lightsabers, using them when an uncivilized blaster would be inefficient. Because of this, close quarters combat became the norm in Imperial tactics, which also means that we would also see new methods formed by tacticians to get the Stormtroopers up against enemy lines to truly eradicate their opponents with their pale blades. And as for the grander scale of things, the people of the galaxy would fear Stormtroopers and what they represented far more than they ever had in the original story. Now, lightsabers, they were no longer symbols of peace and justice in the galaxy, but rather symbols of tyranny and power. For many, it kept them in line and afraid of the Imperials, and for others, it inspired them to enlist with the Empire, especially as propaganda of repurposing the Jedi's evil weapons to ensure security in the galaxy would begin to make waves. With all of the boon that lightsabers would bring the Empire, there would be one offset, and that one thing would be that they might not be very good at deflecting blaster bolts with their blades. This was seen by the Jedi and Sith often and with great skill due to their reflexes and Force sensitivity. Just as Qui-Gon Jinn would say, it lets them see things before they happen. But the majority of these troopers would lack that, if not all, and thus the true power with the blades would be in classic defensive and offensive forms, nothing from afar deflecting blaster bolts, and that is why they would often make use of their E11 blaster carbines when at a distance, or perhaps their energy shields, the very same energy shields that they were depicted to have in the original concept art. Now do keep in mind before we go any further, just remember that these are my thoughts on how the galaxy and the Empire would have changed if the Stormtroopers wielded lightsabers, and in my opinion, it would truly change. Go on and imagine the rescue of Leia from the Death Star if the Stormtroopers were equipped with these. The danger for Han Solo, Leia, and Luke, as well as their companions, would have been far more immense. Or imagine Obi-Wan's speech when he revealed to Luke Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber. It would explain that not only was it the weapon of a Jedi Knight, but how the Empire has taken it and twisted it against them. I'm sure you can imagine how many more situations would shift in major ways because of this. But now, with all of that said, this would have made an entirely different Star Wars if George Lucas never scrapped the idea to put a lightsaber in Stormtrooper hands in his early drafts of Star Wars, instead making lightsabers tied to the Force orders of Jedi and Sith, not making them so mundane. But you tell me, what do you think could have been if the Stormtroopers had these ancient, elegant weapons? Perhaps your take is entirely different than mine. Perhaps you agree. Maybe you want to elaborate more. Either way, I would love to hear what you make of it down in the comments, and we can have a discussion as always. Though until next time, this has been Dank Ferric, and remember that the Force will be with you, always.